Hello guys, and welcome to this, I guess, kind of the beginning of a series on how I am producing stuff. Now, this is a song from my yet unreleased second release, and I want to talk about guitar tone for you. Now, this is something that has taken me quite a while to get right, quite a while to get behind, and in the end of the day, it's rather simple what I'm doing. It's just a mindset kind of a thing, and that's all I want to give to you in this series. Especially, I want to give you more of a mindset feeling of what you should have in mind. But before I tell you more, let's actually listen to what I have in store for you. So as you could hear, there's a lot of stuff going on that one. We have choir, we have strings, we have synths, sustain piccato strings, we have soprano, choir, high lead, that's the synthesizers, and then the guitar section. Now we want to focus on the guitar. First of all, before I talk more about that, I am using a Sensime pedal that is going into a Moa radar, which is using the, I think, UK, the last, I think on stage 19 or where it is. It's a UK preset, and I've done quite an amount of EQing on that because I need that for that sound. Why I did that EQing and much more I will tell you about in a second, but first of all, let's actually dive into what is a good guitar sound, basically, or where does it come from. So you need to think about how were you introduced to guitar sound on records, and it was mostly a room that the guitar amp was standing in, and it was recorded with a mic. That has been very much the case right up until now. There's a lot of people still doing it that way. So the sound that you're accustomed to and that sounds really good is something that is recorded with a mic. But there comes a problem with recording amps with a microphone because you are falsifying the actual tone of your amplifier. If you think it about that way, when you're standing in your practice room or wherever and you are playing a riff on your guitar, everybody will tell you that your guitar is pretty mid-rangey. The guitar is a very mid-range instrument. But now when you're putting it into a mix, you have all of this like mid-high, high gain stuff going on. And that's something that people really like. They really like to boost it too in their mixes. And it gives a very aggressive kind of feeling, right? And now this is where the problem comes in. If you were standing right next to an amplifier, you would not have those high, that looked like those crazy high mids around 4 or 5K. You would not really have them that much, just because of how your ears work and how most of the rooms are shaped. Now, that's something that you really need to keep in mind. So for making an actual realistic sound that doesn't sound like somebody is standing right in front of an amplifier or you're pressing your ear right on the amplifier, because that's something that I think just sounds hurtful more than cool, you need to get rid of those frequencies. This is why for at least that project I chose to do that. I have a crazy amount of EQ on the Moa radar on 4K, on 4K hertz. I really cranked it down a lot. I think I put it down to the maximum that is there, and it was still too much for what I needed. So I have another EQ actually right here, and just to keep in mind, this is all work in progress, so the drums are a bit off, the bass is a bit off, and as you can see, all the tracks are copy pasted over, and it's just, building parts basically. As you can see here, here's also a lot of EQing going on. I like sometimes to overdo the EQing. It really depends on what you're doing. I will probably do a follow-up video to that, when to do normal EQing and when to go really nuts with it, when you can allow yourself to do that. So as here you can see, I even decreased on around -6 decibel, -8, -8 decibel. I decreased 4K again, just because it was still too much when it came out. And then I'm going on the high gain on like around, this starts at 7.5, probably 6.5 it starts, and it gives me more high gain, so that I would say kind of the airish sound that you also have around 1 and 2K is getting a bit more sparkle, a bit more high end, but the actual aggression that lies between, I would say, 2K to 6K is a gun, because this is the upfrontness to the amplifier, basically. Just imagine that as being the upfrontness, and I'm pulling it back so that the amplifier gives more room to the mix. Yeah, the reason for that is because my mix is so dang full. My mix is so full that I need to place synthesizers somewhere in the three-dimensional room. I need to place the choir somewhere, the strings somewhere, and I also need to place the guitars somewhere. And if I just stick them to your ear, it just doesn't sound very good. It sounds very disconnected from the rest of the composition. So I'm taking it back here. I will play this with the setting that I have currently, and then I will move the EQ and give it a listen, really try to focus on the guitar tracks and how it changes the upfrontness and also the overall feel of that part. And I will switch probably between two parts so you can hear a bit of the different stuff going on. I will begin with this, and yeah. So as you could hear here already, of course the hiss is like very, very noticeable. But you could hear the upfrontness kind of going back, and the guitar shining through more, but also getting closer in the three-dimensional space and getting closer to your ear, therefore giving or taking away space of other instruments that those other instruments needed so much. Now I will go back to this part where there's more stuff going on, and you will actually even more realize that. And we have an audio crash, so let's wait a second. There we go. You can actually hear the single string hits that I'm doing when I put this up, and that's nothing that I want. I don't want to hear that too much on this high frequency, because again, this is the upfrontness, and I want to push the guitars back, and I don't want to do that with reverb, because that was another thing that I was thinking about. Maybe I can push it back by using reverb, but using reverb essentially just muts your sound down, especially on guitar. Like, where would you put that? It also gives you less space of like changing the sound too much, because when you put reverb on something, you need to work with the tail, with the timing, and it's just a hassle. So rather use the EQ to get something away from you, like get it away from you, get it further back in the three-dimensional space, and you will have a pretty great sound right there. Now again, this is solely my opinion. This is solely what I prefer to do with those kind of projects where there's a lot of stuff going on. When there is a normal metal track where there's not so much synthesizer and basically just the bass, drums, and singer, and then the guitar, I would not do that. I would leave the guitar probably as normal as possible, but for that it needs kind of a stylized sound so that it can even work out, and you can be really creative, can be really free with that. So I probably broke tons of rules right now with getting that out there, and yeah, I would like to know your take on that. I would really be interested in what you guys think about that approach. So leave a comment, also leave a like or a dislike depending on what you thought of that idea. I will surely do follow-ups and question and answer videos if you want me to go more into the kind of idea of that I'm sharing with you here, because the basic idea is you cannot do a sound wrong. Everything goes if you know what you're doing, and yeah, maybe also how to reach that, because something that I always feel like is or underappreciated in all those tutorials is not the It's not about the technical aspect, like what do I need to do to get X, Y, Z out of the product. That's not what I care for. What I care for is how do I go about a project? Like how do I make it work? Why does the instrument sound the way it sounds? Why is it recorded the way it's recorded? What does that tell me? And what do I need to do to make it better? So this is the end of that lesson. I will do a series following up on the bass, on probably synthesizers a bit, and also the drum set, because drum set was a hell of a time to get right. And yeah, I hope you guys will stick around. See you soon.